to clear the barrier so that we can launch our heavy weapons. But what I'd really like you to see is that all this stuff does not take a high degree of stamina or endurance or flexibility. This is the range which you can literally fight in for the rest of your life. It's low maintenance and high impact. Up until this point of this program, we have covered the first three ranges in which a fight can take place in: kicking, punching, and trapping range. In the eventuality that we might end up on the ground, that's the last part we want to address. When you get on the ground, you have to have an art or a delivery system to be able to survive and defend yourself on the ground, and subsequent to that, to mount your own attack and your own assault. That's what we're going to cover from this point forward. What we're always trying to do is we're trying to make our opponent more concerned about his well-being than whatever the reason why he started the fight in the first place. And in other words, we want to have him know that we have an unconditional disregard for his well-being. That's why we poke him in the eyes and slap his balls and, headbutt him and that sort of thing. And that's where the biting comes into play. If you bite somebody, they're going to say, hey, now wait a minute, I didn't expect this. So what we're always trying to do is we're just trying to apply as much pressure as we can to get the person to fold up. And we don't always start the fights, but we always finish them. During the course of a street fight or any altercation, there's only 4 ranges you can fight in. You have kicking, punching, trapping, and ground fighting. Should you not be able to end a fight in kicking or punching or trapping, and you wind up on the ground, there's only 5 positions you can get in. There's a cross side, there's the mount, there's what we call the 4-quarter or 4-point when someone might be on your back, and there's the guard position when someone's between your legs, and there's what we call the 69 position. What we're now going to show you is the ability to fight and defend yourself out of all those positions. You try it. It's been my experience that during the course of any street fight or altercation, things don't go exactly as we plan. In the real world, we have to account for Murphy's Law. Let me borrow you. For instance, I may gain my entry and get to his head, thumb his eyes, and headbutt him, but he might grab me. So I have to now account for this. So I shuck under this, and I simply want to make a trip and fall down to what we call now the cross-side position. In this case, I happen to have a headlock. Okay? From here, this is also the cross-side position. Okay? The hand could be here, the hand could be here. Okay? It could be from the other side, same thing. This is cross-side, this is cross-side. This position is called cross-side. From here I have many options, but my main thing is I want to hold him down. I want to make him expend energy, and it's up to him to try to escape from here. And I wait for him to make a mistake. Maybe I'm going to choke him, arm lock, something like that. We'll get into that a little later on. Now, once again, accounting for Murphy's Law and things not always going right, Russ might come right up rushing at me and give me a double leg takedown, and we might fall into the position where he's between my legs. This is called the guard position. Notice I want to keep my legs locked and keep him tight. That keeps him from being able to punch or headbutt me. This is the guard position, and my main goal in the guard position is I want to keep him tight. I don't want to give him space so he could maybe headbutt or punch, and I want to wear him out. I want to make him expend a lot of energy in this position. I'm very comfortable here because I'm on my back. He weighs a lot, and I'm just using the force of gravity on my side. The next position you may find yourself on the ground is the mounted position. How you get there, you don't know. Once again, Russ, may I borrow you? You gain your entry, you might thumb the eyes, put in a few elbows, and for whatever reason, you wind up in the back position. In this case, I don't want to try to lift him up, so I simply throw him down on the ground and roll him over. Okay, now I'm in what's called the mounted position. From here, I can punch basically with impunity. And as you'll notice, if he tries to punch me, his arm cannot reach. This is referred to as the mounted position. From here, I have many options, very much offensive. From here, I can punch with impunity. I can go for arm locks, chokes. I can put a lot of pressure on him. I can strangle him. I can choke him. I have many different things I can do from here. From here, he has no options except to try to escape. And we'll get into that later. Another common position you may find yourself in on the ground is what we call the 4-point or 4-quarter position. Russ, he may rush in and try to take me down, in which case I just pan out. We're both on our hands and knees. This is called the 4-quarter position. It could be from the side this way, okay? It could be from the side this way, okay? Or I could be on his back, okay? This position is called the 4-point position because he's on 4 points, 2 arms and 2 legs. From here, all I want to do is try to get him off balance and maybe get a choke or get to his side over here. From this position, I can control him better. I want to control his hips and his whole body. Another position you may wind up on the ground is what we call the head-to-head or 69 position. Russ, he may come in for a double leg takedown, and I catch him in this position, and I throw him over this way, and I control him. This position is called the 69 or head-to-head position. Okay, it's a very close position, and I put a lot of pressure on him. I try to hold him down and look for arm locks and submissions. Now that we're familiar with the 5 different positions on the ground, what we want to do is learn how to fight out of those positions. The first one we're going to go into is the guard position. From this position, he's a real strong guy, so I'm going to start to punch him, and he's going to maybe sit back. As he sits back, I'm going to go right with him and get my knee inside. I want to control this arm and his head, and I'm going to sweep him so I wind up in the mounted position. So same thing, I'm starting to punch him, so he sits back. As he sits back, I go right up with him, I cup this arm, and I use my hip to bump him over this way, and once again wind up in the mounted position. And once again, we're in this position in which I'm punching his ear, right, maybe elbow his head, sometimes hit in the back of the head this way, or kick the kid. And you have a lot of things you can do to mess him up here. And the next thing he's going to do is he's going to sit back and put a leg up, put a knee up. All I want to do is I want to hook this leg and throw him over. Once again, I wind up in the mounted position. I'm punching him in the ear, and I'm elbowing him in the head. Nothing seems to work. I'm not getting a reaction. So what I want to do is I want to kind of create a little bit of space just to kick his leg out. And I'm controlling this arm. So as I kick this leg out, I throw my leg over, and I go to an arm bar. From the guard position, I'm continuing my water torture here on his ear. He's a big, strong guy, so he tries to press forward to choke me with his forearm. Very uncomfortable for me. All I do is I take the pressure away, and at the same time, I trap his neck with my bicep. I grab my own bicep here and apply the sleeper. Let him have a nightmare. From the guard position, he tries to stand up by putting his hands down. I just simply trap this hand, come up, reach around, grab my own forearm. The key here is I grab here for leverage, and I roll my hip out this way and apply the arm break. From the guard position, he tries to pass, putting both hands down. As he does that, I trap his hand. I reach up here and grab my own forearm, scoop my hip out, and I trap his body with this leg to keep him from getting away. And then I apply the arm break. Continuing from the guard position, this time he's going to reach back and try to force my foot. All I'm going to do is reach across here and apply the arm break right at this point right here. Squeeze my knees together and thrust my hips up. In combat, of course, bam, I'm going to break it. Now, the sweeps and the throws and the techniques that I've just shown you out of the guard position can all be countered. So the next step is to counter the counter. Okay, this is called sombrada in the Filipino vernacular. If I go for something, then he counters it, and I counter it with something else. That's the next stage in our development. Okay, now I'm trying to cause Russ to have a reaction, and he sits back, so I go for my sweep, but he counters by putting his foot up. All I do is control this hand, and I just throw him over this way, and once again, I end up in the mounted position. Okay, from this position, I'm still looking to try to get a reaction, trying to get him to do something. He sits back, I go for my throw. As I go for my throw, he puts weight forward. Okay, rather than trying to force strength against strength, I simply circle around here to a guillotine choke, and force him to tap. Okay, once again, I'm just trying to make my life miserable for Russ in the guard position. I'm doing anything I can do just to hurt him. You know, it's kind of like Chinese water torture. This isn't going to end the fight. All it does is facilitate him to make a mistake. In this case, he sits back, and I go for my sweep. But he raises his leg up so I can no longer do the sweep, so I simply hook my leg under here, turn him back this way, flip him over, and wind up in bargaining position. Now we've seen what you can do when you have someone in your guard. You have many options, mainly to destroy his base and throw him off balance. The next thing we want to do is find out when we find ourselves inside their guard, and we want to learn how to get out of that position. That's called passing the guard. That's our next step. Okay, for whatever reason, I'm not having a very good day, and I find all of a sudden I'm inside of Russ's guard, and he pulls me in and he's holding me down. Okay, and I'm not thinking clearly, and so I wind up in this position. The most important thing here is I now have to escape, because I don't have any offense, and he has all the options. So the first thing you have to do is you have to get your posture. You have to work your way back, clear your head, get your head back to this point, and establish your base. From here, you stand up, okay? And then you reach back this way, grab his leg, and control it. And you want to put your weight towards his shoulder. Use this hand, grab this shoulder, put all your weight on his body, and wind up in what we call the cross side. Because I find myself again inside this man's guard. And the most important thing about passing the guard is posture. I want to make sure I have correct posture. I want to stick my knee in his tailbone. That gives me leverage. Keep his butt down on the floor to break the guard, and put my leg back this way. I use my elbow to force his leg down. My knee traps over this way. All right? I put all my weight over here, and at the last minute, throw my leg over. This brings me to what? The cross-side position. Now that I've passed the guard and established the cross-side position, I now want to look for some kind of finishing hold, okay? The first one is, since his arm is in this position, I'm going to switch my legs underneath. And I'm going to trap his arm with my leg, and then thrust my hips up. Arm break. Second one is, I put it underneath this leg. Use this leg, helps trap it. Maybe push his face away a little bit. Also, you can punch uninterrupted here, maybe thumb the eyes if you want to. A little choke, a little strangle, and do that. Now that I've passed the guard, my next goal is I want to mount. So all I simply do is I just slide my leg over and get on top of him. At this point, I can start to punch uninterrupted, in which case he has little choice but to put up an obstruction, in which case I trap that hand, push his face into the ground for pressure, and just sit back, squeeze my knees together, and thrust my hips up, okay? And of course, in a street fight, it's going to be a little more violent. Now that I've passed the guard, my next goal is to establish cross-side position, and from here I want to mount. I bring my knee up to put pressure and establish here and stabilize the position. It's from here I can start my uninterrupted punching. And he starts to spin this time to get away from it. I snake my arm around, put my weight on him, hooks in here, and then apply the choke. In this case, I find myself in a very bad position. He's mounted on top of me, and he can punch uninterrupted, and I'm in the position where I have to protect myself. So what I do is I make what's called an upa, and I just pop him up, and it forces him off balance. And then I trap his base arm, whichever arm he's supporting, and I just hook his leg here and roll him over. And from here, then I go back to passing the guard. And now I found again that he is mounted on me. He has all the offensive options here, and I have nothing. My major goal here is I have to escape. I try to upa, but he just has too good a balance. So now what I do is I upa and I turn on my hip. From here, I use my knee to throw him that way. And then from here, I go back to the guard position and pass the guard and start my offense again. And many times when a fight goes to the ground, you find yourself locked up in this four-quarter position. From here, you have many options. One of the better ones is to step your foot across here, control the arm here real tight, above the elbow, and throw him this way. Put your knee on his chest for pressure. Okay, this makes him uncomfortable. Control this arm, push his face down, and back for the arm break. Knees together, hips up. Okay, once again, starting from this position, sometimes you go for the so, and he's too strong or he spreads his base. You sit back and you keep your knee in his chest. This gives you the arm right here. Just follow it right around, stretch it out for the arm bar. This is the arm lock. Same thing, knees together, thrust the hips. Next time you're locked up with this guy, he feels real strong, you don't know what to do, just place your foot here and kick his knee out. Go right over, get the arm bar this way. Now, so just to get an idea sometimes of counter for counter, sometimes you can go for a guillotine choke here, and he might counter it. Put your hammer up over there, okay? And then this comes here, and you flip him over this way. Okay? That's called a crucifix. Now, from the four-quarter position, another option is you want to try to get to the guy's back. So I'm going to come around this way and attack his neck. Okay, he's going to use his hand to try to defend the neck, so I just pull it in this way. Then I stick my hook in and sit back, and I put the other hook in. Now I attack the choke. If he puts his hand in there, I use this to trap the hand and then finish it off. Now, from the four-quarter position, another option is you want to try to get to the guy's back. So I'm going to come around this way and attack his neck. Okay, he's going to use his hand to try to defend the neck, so I just pull it in this way. Then I stick my hook in and sit back, and I put the other hook in. Now I attack the choke. If he puts his hand in there, I use this to trap the hand and then finish it off. What we've accomplished in this program up to this point is we've become familiar with the different positions you can wind up in on the ground and how to get there, from kicking to punching to trapping and finally the transition to the ground. Now, in the progression that it takes to become a good fighter or a complete fighter, we have to take it from learning the techniques to putting them in the drills, taking them into sparring that simulates combat. What you're going to see now is Sharam, one of my instructors, and James, one of our students. They're going to just start slow to warm up and going from position to position to position. This is round one. Go ahead. Notice that they're just focusing in on the ground game. And you'll see the familiar positions. Try to stabilize the position, guys. Notice how Sharam is working the mount. James try to prevent it. Nobody at this point is even looking for a submission. They're just looking to establish a superior position. You notice Sharam right now is what's called the half mount. Now Sharam has got established the cross-side position. Now he's working for 69. It's the 69 position coming up. This is not rehearsed. I'm not telling these guys what to do. They're doing it on their own. James, try to escape. Move your hip. Turn to face him. Okay, now Sharam's back in the mount position. Go full mount. Go full. That was his submission there. That's his strangulation. Okay, now in the next round, you're going to see Sharam turn it up a little bit more. Okay, you're going to see more submissions. He's going to be doing more the JKD concepts applied to the ground game, using progressive indirect attacks, attack by drawing, giving a little bit of a bait so the guy maybe thinks he's going to get an arm and Sharam's going to wind up maybe with a foot lock or a knee lock or a choke. He's going to play more the JKD game. Okay, guys, round two. Let's go at it. Turn up the volume a little bit now. The familiarity of the position. Look at the arm lock. Freeze. Time. There's the arm lock from before, from the mounted position. Very good. That's round two. In this next round, Sharam's going to play all defense. He's not going to try for one submission. All he's going to do is constantly try to put James in the guard and make James pass the guard. Every time James passed the guard, Sharam's going to put him back in the guard. Okay? Let's try that. Posture. Put your head back. Elbows in tight. Head back. Sit back on your heel. Jump up on your feet. Under your feet. Wrap one arm around. Grab his leg. When you get to this position, remember, one arm here, control this leg, put your weight on him, establish cross side. Main thing is put your weight on him from here. Okay, go back to the guard, pass the guard again. Sometimes we'll work hours, just one side keeping the guard, one side passing the guard. Just do become familiar with the position. This is the most important thing in ground fighting, is to be familiar with the position. In the ground game, there's only a few submissions. There's only arm locks, there's only chokes, there's only foot locks, and knee locks. There's nothing else. There's no secret techniques, but there is training methods that will help you develop familiarity with positions. That's why we do it this way. Okay, time. Very good. In this next round, I'm going to have Sharam turn up his volume a little bit. I want you to see what jiu-jitsu looks like in action on the ground. I want you to see what the ground combat looks like when somebody has put in the mat time, that's put in the man hours. This is not a game of accumulating techniques. It's a game of mat time. It's not the person that reads more books or watches more videotapes. It's the person that spends more time drilling and sparring that's going to get good. Okay, so see what happens now. Go ahead, guys. Come right to your knees, James. Keep going. 5 taps, James, and you're done. I want you to see just how quickly somebody can be finished on the ground. Good. 3 more. Let's go. Keep going. Come to your knees. Back a little bit, James. Come on. Go at it. Very good. One more. Let's go. Keep going. Very nice. Good job, guys. Excellent work. All right, time. At this point, I would kind of like to share with you how we train and where we get our information from and the value of having the kind of instruction that is available to you. In putting this program together, what we've done is we've sought out the very best people in each range that we could. For instance, in kicking range, Daniel Doobie for Savat in Thai boxing. In punching range, there's nothing better than Western boxers. In trapping range, we have Bruce Lee and Dan Inosanto. In the ground fighting, we train with the Gracie family and Wellington Diaz. They call him Megaton. What you have to do is you have to put in a little effort on your own, just a few hours a week. I guarantee you, if you stay consistent, in as little as 40 hours, you can become a complete fighter. All you have to do is put in the effort. And there is some intangible reward to this. If when you're training for martial art and kicking and punching and wrestling and trapping and using weapons, you're getting in touch with the violent side of your nature, which all human beings have inherently. We all have that. And when you do that, it's not suppressed and it won't come out in bad ways, it'll come out in good ways. And then you'll be able to take care of yourself and your family in a healthy way.